And the YouTube has started. The YouTube hath started. All right, there's the other link. Senor Robinson, control room open, bumper music ready. So I actually kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, and this is an interesting topic, but it's a topic that pretty much every YouTube channel in the world is talking about right now, and that is the absolute clusterfuck that is YouTube and advertisers and demonetization and censorship and some of the new rules on YouTube, because it is interesting and it does kind of fit in with what we typically discuss, and that is the when we've talked about internet addiction in the past. There are people, kids, young people, and potentially older people who are absolutely fucking obsessed with YouTube, and they use their YouTube recommendations all day long and watch video after video after video after video. And there are also people that are spending their entire lives creating content for YouTube that has become somewhat of an obsession, and they've been able to make money, which is great until now. So I want to talk about that for sure. And then I also wanted to talk about that I think, based on our current structure and the fuckedness that is the greed of the internet of things, why I think this particular show should, at least temporarily, maybe for the summer as it gets bakingly hot around here, should go to a 1 hour or so, approximately 1 hour to 90-minute monthly format. And that way we just do it once a month. We make it a really good show. We could even discuss some topics along the way through the chat that we use, a little group chat that we use. And if something cool pops up, we share it with each other. We do a little bit of reading, a little bit of research, and then we can talk about the stuff that actually sticks in our brains and do the show once a month.
I like that.
I think it was better when we knew that there were shows coming. When we did it every week, that was fine. Now that we're not doing it every week, I think it would be smart to say, hey, fuck it, let's just do it once a month. So we would do the next one 4 weeks from now. And if we decide then, if viewership or listenership doesn't drop significantly because of this, or we don't get, outcry from people saying, no, we want the weekly format back, then we stick to the month. If we see the listenership drop significantly, then we reconsider.
What about every 2 or 3 weeks rather than a monthly thing? We just do it every so many weeks.
I mean, we could certainly go for a bi-weekly situation, basically like every pay week. Basically, if I got paid the day before, then we'll do a show. That way I'm in a better mood. All right. Well, let's start the recording here. We'll start the actual thing. The YouTube people got a little behind the scenes action here. Broadcast is starting in 3, 2. Welcome to the Summer Happy Hour radio broadcast. I am your host. We are coming to you live on youtube.com and streaming all around the world via podcast on iTunes and your favorite podcast catcher. I am here with my two very good friends. It is Saturday, April the 8th of 2017, and who the fuck knows when this episode will actually go to podcast, because 2 words. Fuck you, Dropbox. Oh yeah.
That's 3 words.
Shut up. But I am here with the 2 most adorable podcasting people I've ever done a podcast with, Chaz and Robinson. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Uh-oh, Robinson.
Uh-oh.
Say something else.
Uh-oh.
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, there he is.
There.
It got a little mushy.
There it is.
We thought it was the Vietnamese internet, but you're not in Vietnam. So we
No,
can't
I'm
use
not available.
we can't use that as an excuse anymore. Oh no. So
Well, yeah,
go ahead.
It's just really wacky here right now, and it's a strong Wi-Fi for everything, and it looks like I have a good signal, but
All right.
my phone
I'm
is
sure
down
it's
anyway.
fine. It was, you know what it was? It was Chaz's overwhelming manliness that
Mhm.
he overcame your audio signal.
Well, you know,
Yeah, just
I
my
was
presence.
watching his mouth to try to sync my "Hello, gentlemen" up with his exactly, and I
Failed.
And then
I just like slipped right under his entire voice.
or you were mesmerized by his mouth.
Hmm.
And then
Very
nothing
sexy
came
mouth.
out at all. That could have been it. So we are back, and like I said to the people who might watch this on YouTube, we're not entirely sure when the podcast will be posted, because I said that there were two words, and Chaz, of course, corrected me. Fuck you, Dropbox.
Well, there's two words to Dropbox.
Well, it was more that
So
fuck
it's 4
you.
words.
Fuck you is one word sometimes in my vocabulary. It's
Right.
more, it's not like fuck you. It's more like fuck you, like a Scot, like some sort of Scot.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's
Fuck
what
you.
that's what their martial arts is called. It's
Fuck you.
mostly just headbutting and kicking people when they're on the ground. Fuck you. So the reason that my sentiment is such is kind of boring, but it is what it is. We have always hosted, and this might get a little technical, but when we make a podcast, that means that we take the sound coming through this microphone and those microphones, and we blend it together into what is called an
I mean,
what? It's called an MPEG-3 audio file, also known as an MP3. Whoa, are you watching us? You can't watch us at the same time,
Yeah,
Robinson.
I'm
That's
hearing
like masturbation.
and
He's masturbating mentally, mental masturbation.
I
So
was checking it. Sorry.
I appreciate you check. Let me check it.
Wait, how did you know I was looking?
It's good because I could hear
We heard
myself.
Wait, how? I have headphones on.
Then we heard it through your headphones. I don't know. It's
Something
the magic of the internet.
I'm not watching it.
It is the magic of the
bizarre.
internet.
really bizarre.
So anyway, so MP3 file. The MP3 file is then sent into the cloud. The cloud that is
Crowd.
some other computer somewhere that's faster and better than mine. And because of that, Dropbox was our hosting company of choice because their servers are fast, it is free, and we could just copy a link, put it on the RSS feed, and then iTunes would see it and let you download it. Well, I got a little note from Dropbox about a month ago saying we're changing the public link system. And I suspected that this would have an impact on our audio files, but I didn't realize that it would have a retroactive impact on our audio files, which means that currently, right now, no one can download a fucking podcast from the Sober Happy Hour. They can see them. They'll see the list. You'll see the podcast as available, but if you click to download, it doesn't do anything. If you click to stream, it doesn't do anything. And that is because the link was killed, murdered, indiscriminately murdered by Dropbox for no reason, for honestly no reason. So if I sound annoyed, it's because I'm annoyed. Because, God damn it, every time we have a good solution for any kind of technology, one of these big fuck off billion-dollar companies decides to take it away from us. So,
Yep.
So we're going to find another solution. We are already so far up Google's ass with our show that I figure we might as well give them a little reach around at the same time, and we can host the files on Google as well. So then they can do their Google voodoo on it and potentially make more money off of this show that we don't make any money off of anyway. And that's okay. I don't care. I don't mind. I am not a selfish man. So stay tuned. Hopefully the podcasts will find their way back onto the internet soon enough. Sorry. So that's sort of my rant about our good friend technological difficulties, because he hasn't reared his ugly head in a while, thankfully. But
not on the show, but just
right
in between the shows and
around the show.
Yeah.
I tried tonight to do something a little bit different. So I use these wired headphones. They sound great. They work fine, but they're a little constricting, right? I can't move more than a foot away from my computer. And I have these fantastic wireless headphones. They're called AirPods. They're completely wireless. And I tried to use them tonight to do the show. Problem is, they're Bluetooth, and there is still a latency problem with Bluetooth. So if I think my little delay is bad now, oh man, I probably would have lost my mind if I tried to use them.
That delay really screws with your head.
You heard it once.
Well, I was in your studio and I had my headphones on and I couldn't, finish a sentence.
Yeah, you couldn't even finish a word.
Yeah, you just start like completely stuttering over yourself. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, I remember when Dr. Chris was in studio when we did the show with Dr. Chris, the psychiatrist, and I could tell that it was giving her a little bit of trouble, but I tried to make the delay as minimal as possible for her. And I could tell, and you go back and listen to the podcast. Oh, that's right. You can't go back and listen to the podcast right now. Fuck you, Dropbox. But when it's available, it is the podcast from 2 years ago. Dr. Chris joined us live, and you can hear every once in a while that some of the words would come out more like, let's say she was using the word psychiatrist, and it would sound more like psychiatrist, because it fucks your brain. It's the weirdest thing. So big happenings in the world, big happenings in, we talked about healthcare a little bit last time when we were on the show, and thankfully we dodged a bullet with some healthcare troubles. We found out this week that our new president, President Jared Kushner, if you don't know who that is, he is the actual President Donald J. Trump's son-in-law. So basically his daughter's husband. He is literally my age, and this is the man that has been put in charge of the war in Iraq, peace in the Middle East, revamping the VA healthcare system, couple other things.
What is his title? What is
he is an advisor to the president. He has full-blown security clearance. He's involved in the national security talks amongst the national security team. And one of the things that he was put in charge of was figuring out how to solve the opioid addiction crisis in the United States. This is a $30 34-year-old man. Maybe he's 35. Okay,
I think he's 36.
fine.
But either way, if he's 35, I mean, yeah, it scares the shit out of me
Yeah.
thinking that someone my age, because I still see myself as like a kid, you know? It's like, and this
I
guy
agree.
really, it's like, what other
His background.
world leadership,
Good question.
skills or experience does this guy have?
So
At
Robinson
36.
said, Robinson
How long has he
asked,
been-
Go
How
ahead.
long has he been an advisor? How much does he know about drug addiction and opioid problems? And how much research has he done? What is his experience? What is his background? That's the
so great question. Jared
His background
Kushner,
on Middle Eastern relations either.
right? He has no foreign government experience. He has no foreign policy experience. He has no government experience, period. He was born into a wealthy family. He married into an even wealthier family, and he was basically involved in real estate. This guy was a real estate tycoon, if you will. But he didn't build a company. He ran his father's company. And more than likely, that's how he met Ivanka Trump, was through the real estate mogul parents that they both have. So he was doing real estate deals, still does, and he has zero experience. How long has he been an advisor in Washington? Approximately 76 days. That's how long. And he is basically acting in the way that our Secretary of State would normally act. But because our Secretary of State currently also has no experience and was the former CEO of ExxonMobil, the oil company,
And is being deliberately sabotaged by the very administration he's working for.
And apparently, this man did not realize when our president asked him to be Secretary of State. We're talking about Rex Tillerson, former CEO of ExxonMobil. He did not realize that he would have to talk to people, give press conferences. This is a dude who has come out of his office every day at the end of the day for the whole time that he's been Secretary of State and has said, maybe, and we might be stretching this a little bit. This man has spoken 6 words to the press, not 6 times, 6 words to the press since he has been our Secretary of State. We have a Jared Kushner who is doing the things that the Secretary of State should be doing with foreign governments, foreign entities, and our diplomacy around the world. Anyway, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent. My point in bringing him up was that he was put in charge of, by the new president, the solving the opioid addiction problem in this country. You asked, what experience does he have in drug addiction? And the answer is none. 0. So his ideas.
Are you sure he's never had a drug habit?
Well, I mean, maybe.
That would be some experience.
That would be something. And I would actually give him, you have no idea. I would give that man a political blowjob if he went on TV and said, hey, you're questioning my qualifications for peace in the Middle East, brokering a deal with trade and China, and all the other things I mentioned. But here's where I do have experience, and that is with opioid addiction, because I overcame an addiction to prescription pain medication. And here's how I did it. And here's what I believe in. And here is my 10-step plan to help solve a problem with opioid addiction in our country. I would literally fall over in my chair if that was something that would ever possibly, maybe, will never happen, ever. But
let's look at it this way. I mean, ultimately we look at this type of thing like a healthcare problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we look at it as getting, you know, treatment and everything else. But what if it's a business problem? What if it's pharmaceutical business that could solve it? In other words, that's what's impeding it, because this, to me, goes back to that whole thing about, like the very beginning of it was pain is the fifth vital sign.
Yeah,
And
right.
the prescribing of opioids as kind of the gateway to heroin, because heroin's just cheaper. So ultimately, it's all really being driven by pharmaceutical profit. That's what's causing this. That's what starts it.
Well,
more or
that's what
less.
started it.
Yeah, but the pharmaceutical sales is what prompts it, like in an individual. It sets them up for future like IV drug use and you know, heroin, etc.
Sure.
So maybe there might be more of a business solution to this, but then again, the business solution that I would envision was stop.
Well, but here, and I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree, but that I don't think that would help us solve the current trouble with addicts. Hold on, let me fix my audio here.
Right. The problem is not just the accessibility, but I mean, once you're started, it's, even when you can't get the pills anymore, then you go to the street and get whatever else you can get.
Well, and right, but it also wouldn't at all help the people that are currently addicted, because here's the thing: if he helps solve the problem from a business pharmaceutical industry aspect, cool. But here's
the
scarier
people who know
part.
their shit go to the other way and solve it with the addicts.
But here's the scarier part about what that idea encompasses. So they figure out how to prevent the dissemination of these opioid drugs in the way that they're just ubiquitous and they're prescribed for the smallest little thing. Like, I got a boo-boo on my thumb, I have a toothache, here's some Percocet. But the problem is you already have these woefully addicted people, and they are figuring out ways to get what they need without having to buy heroin, without having to, you know, rob and steal, because they can get it covered by their
health insurance.
Right, their health insurance, and their doctor prescribes it. And that's not a good thing, but at least it's somewhat safer than if you just cut it off at the legs tomorrow and say, we figured out a way to prevent doctors from prescribing these drugs. That's a recipe for disaster.
I don't think I was going that direction.
Well, that's the direction that I went.
Yeah, that's not at all what I was saying. What I'm saying is it's the doctors that are prompting their patients, are you in any pain, every time they go and see them, and thus setting them up for saying, yeah, I am, now that you mention it. I wasn't going to say anything about it before, but now, yeah. And that type of practice is what's prompting it.
And you know, how many doctors are getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies? I don't know. But when it comes to the companies, like, what is the company? The company is a board of directors, usually about 12 guys, and the shareholders. And the shareholders are the ones that the board of directors have to please, because they're the ones who have invested the money to make this company exist. And those shareholders can be thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, for all I know. I'm a shareholder in Pfizer. I'm one of the people who I have the right. I don't know how, you know, I'm only one voice in, you know, 100,000 people that own shares, but that's, you know, it's getting to those consciousness of the people who make these decisions on a very broad level. These are the people that need to be accountable, the people who invest money in these companies and make the decisions to push products.
So interesting topic, because I just a couple of days ago had a conversation with a buddy of mine who is in his 4th year of residency to be a doctor. So, I mean, he is a doctor. He's in residency. And right now, he just submitted an application to the DEA to get a DEA license. And the reason that you do that is so that you can prescribe narcotics, so that you have the ability to prescribe narcotics. What's interesting, and this was something that I didn't know, is every single narcotic pill that you as a doctor prescribe is tracked. It is tracked in a database. You cannot prescribe to yourself. You could lose your medical license. And if you are prescribing to someone who has had narcotics prescribed by another doctor, you can also lose your license, or at the very least, your ability to prescribe narcotics. So it is a fairly tightly controlled environment. I think to your point, Chaz, is it may be controlled where I can't go to the pharmacy and get a prescription filled for 60 narcotic pain pills and then go to a different pharmacy 5 days later and fill a completely legit different prescription from a different doctor for more narcotic pain pills before the 60 should be used up, because there is a computer system that all the pharmacies now have to use that does not allow that to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to get too off topic here, but I just realized that I had no idea who made Percocet or anything. It's Endo International PLC, and to give you an idea, at least the number of shares they've sold is 12,925,000.
Like stock shares?
Yeah, I think that's individual shares. But
what's their stock price?
At the moment, I don't know.
Got it. What is interesting also about what I just mentioned was the fact that, so here you are, you have this prescription, and then you have another one. If you're paying cash, let's say a health insurance is not paying for this, if you get your doctor to handwrite on the prescription, fill today, then the pharmacy can overlook the limitation that they have in filling too many too soon, because the doctor obviously knows best and has said it's okay to fill this before the last prescription has run out. So, and these pill seekers, they know all these tricks. And there was one guy that my friend told me about who was a pill seeker, and he came into the clinic and he'd never met this guy before, so he didn't know. And he looked totally normal. He didn't look like a junkie like we all think about from TV. He was in a shirt and tie and slacks and looked like a normal, white collar Joe, right? He had insurance. He seemed totally normal. And this guy came in, he looked him up in the system, realized this guy's looking for narcotics. And this dude had literally, with either a hammer or some large, heavy instrument, blunt object, had literally crushed his own toe, his pinky toe, and made up some bullshit about how he dropped something on his foot. And all he wanted was narcotics. And that was what he came in asking for, saying, I'm in a lot of pain. Look at my foot. Look at my foot. And because he doesn't want to lose his DEA license, if it's called a license, that could not be the right terminology, because he didn't want to get busted by the DEA and not be allowed to prescribe medication anymore, he basically told this guy, hey, so like, this is the 4th time you've been in with what appears to be a self-inflicted injury. So I'm actually going to refer you to a psychiatrist, not write you a prescription for Percocet. And because of this, this guy went off, basically, fuck you, Dropbox, and left kicking and screaming and shouting. There was another guy, and this blew my mind. He was working at a hospital, working in the emergency room, and a dude came in with what's called a PICC line. I don't know if you know what that is, but a PICC line is basically an external tube that's on the outside of your body that runs directly into your vascular system via your heart. They use it for people who are essentially dying and need some way to get medication directly into their bloodstream. And this and you would never ever see a PICC line in someone's neck area outside of a hospital.
Self or something, or what?
So nobody knows. He doesn't know how he got this PICC line put in. For all he knows, he could have put it in himself. But it is against the law for a doctor to allow a patient to leave the hospital with a PICC line still in them. So he came in wanting IV drugs for the PICC line, and this, and so my doctor friend had to by law had to remove the PICC line, and this guy was so pissed that he took his direct access, mainline heroin repository out of his throat. This is how fucked up this is. Like, that is insanely dangerous. And this dude's walking around like tapped into the artery, man, so that he could get high. That's commitment.
That's hardcore.
So, Jared Kushner, how are you, Mr. White Bread? Maybe did a little bit of cocaine in college. Mr. Married to the President's Daughter. Mr. Real Estate Guy. How in God's name are you going to solve our opioid addiction problem? I'll tell you how. You're not.
Hold on just a second.
Go.
How much experience do you have negotiating property deals?
Me?
Yeah, you.
One.
How many? One. You bought one house.
Bought one house.
And did you do the negotiating, or did you hire someone, a broker, to do the negotiating for you?
I had a real estate agent.
A real estate agent. What makes a good real estate agent is the ability to negotiate terms
And experience.
and solving problems and being very diplomatic.
Sure.
Okay. These are also the same skills for foreign affairs specialists. So he might not have experience directly in that field, but what he's learned in his life in negotiating and being diplomatic for the purpose of buying and selling property or buildings or whatever, those are skills that are very valuable.
And I could understand that if he'd been, doing real estate for 20 years and that type of negotiating for 20 some odd, 25, 30 years maybe, but that would mean he'd started when he was 15 years old.
Hey, Some people just have a natural knack for negotiating and
Well, and I agree with you. If this were a self-made man and he built some rock star real estate company and he started it with and pulled himself up by his bootstraps when he's 18 years old, he bought his first foreclosure to flip and made, you know, $20 million by the time he was 25 and then $100 million by the time he was 35, I would agree with you. But this was somebody that was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and whatever he has and whatever he learned was learned by the proximity that he was to others. And but if you even look at our president,
that doesn't negate his abilities.
Well, but we don't know his abilities.
Whether he was raised rich or raised poor, if he has a natural ability to do good negotiating and be diplomatic, you know, let's see what he can do before we start judging him. That's all I'm saying.
So
it might be
again
amazing. We don't
again, I would be inclined to agree with you if it weren't for the decisions of the people that have already been put in place that we have watched crash and burn over the last 3 months based on bad decision quality by this president and the people that he chooses, like Jeff fucking Sessions, to be our attorney general.
And I'll tell you what, you know,
the other side of that whole argument. I'm not arguing for
No. We're arguing because it's fun to argue.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to keep, because I haven't heard anything about this before today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm just going on what I'm hearing right now from you and trying to keep it, you know, level.
Sure.
But in my mind, I'm thinking all this bullshit is just leading us one step closer to that fucking impeachment.
Well, it could be. And I mean, you know, okay, he may be a great negotiator and whatnot, but you know what? I'll guarantee you there's probably someone out there who's even better.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that, you know, just a good talent search could find exactly that person.
Well, and I think that might be the part that bothers me even more about this entire situation, because Robinson, you're right. This guy could be amazing. He could be some sort of a virtuoso of
but the only reason he is where he is because he married the president's daughter.
Well, and also the only reason that he is where he is and is doing what he's doing is because of nepotism. And there are laws in our federal government that prevent shit like this, because it doesn't usually work out very well, because your decisions are clouded by the love and affection and admiration that you have for the people who share a family with you.
And family has each other's back, and it becomes a good old boys club.
Oh yeah, and we got a lot of good old boys in the White House right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So with all of that, and I love this conversation, and I love that the both of you have a strong opinion about it, because I'm tired of hearing myself talk. And Robinson, though, I really do, and I mean this sincerely, I hope you're right. Like, I really do. I hope you are right. I am a hopeful optimist, sometimes to my own destruction. I am a hopeful, optimistic human being, but there's something that tells me that this is going to turn out just like the last 76 days or however many of this administration thus far. And a lot of people will say, oh, you can't judge a presidency on just a few months worth of shit. Well, you can if it is historically fucked. We have no other example of a presidential administration that has been so incapable of doing anything in the 250 years that we have been a country.
I am just like wondering, I've kind of been entertaining myself lately, wondering what future generations will look back on us and think, and it's like, well, this is, you know, we thought it'd be fun to have a reality TV star as a president. I mean, we're going to be asked. I mean, thank God I was only indirectly responsible by voting third party. I'll admit that. I am apologizing.
I don't know that it would be much better right now with the other candidate who
But
stole...
either way, looking back on it now, the people who did vote intentionally for him, you know, as opposed to those of us who accidentally voted for him, those who voted intentionally for him are going to have to answer to their kids and their grandkids. What did you want out of that?
Yes, they will. They certainly will.
Yeah.
So, and what's really great, and I love this part, is these decisions keep getting made, and the poll numbers keep going lower and lower, that nobody thought they could get any lower than they were a month ago. Like, they were historically low for a new president, and now they are 10 points lower than that. And that is funny. And I will say this. There has been one very, very positive side to this new, we'll say, unique presidency. And that is, God damn it, if I have not been entertained by the late night talk show hosts, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, late night.
Did you see that?
What's his name? Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
Fucking
did you see that?
Amazing.
That video I posted on YouTube, on Facebook just a few hours ago.
No.
Talking about how satire has become, it's like no longer satire. It is now the only honest reporting on the current events of the day, because they're the ones, and it shows like a clip, who are actually calling them on this, because satire has no tolerance for bullshit.
No, and what's funny about that is Stephen Colbert's old show, The Colbert Report, and Jon Stewart sort of created that, where people could get their news from a satire show, and it was more honest and more informative and more accurate than the mainstream media. And that now has become all of these late night programs, because everything is so upside down and backwards. And when my parents, the incredibly left-leaning progressive parents that you met last weekend, they aren't obnoxiously liberal, but their viewpoints are very progressive. They told me when I saw them last weekend that they have felt that they've been getting more accurate, honest news recently from certain reporters on Fox News Channel than they get from other media outlets. That blows my mind.
Well, if you saw recently, I think it was, there have been several figures in the news media who spoke out against the other members of the news media who are now glowingly supporting Trump, saying, you know, I think that people said, yes, he became the president of the United States tonight, or launching missiles at Syria at an empty airfield was somehow, quote, presidential.
But not destroying the airfield itself, not going after the runway to prevent them from launching planes, but blowing up a couple of sheds.
Yeah, and so
$150 million it cost us, by the way. $150 million.
But these talking heads on the media, they were just absolutely gushing over it. And thankfully, we have people like Trevor Noah and all these others who are able to call them out on their bullshit.
Yeah.
So the people in the mainstream media are like just ready to go and sell out on this whole thing.
Every day.
You know, people who've been very critical of Trump, people who've been very, you know, in the past at least trustworthy to think that they were advocating or at least critically thinking. Then the second he goes and does something like this and big flashy military power, suddenly they're all like, you know, going gaga over it. Then really the satirists are the only people not so much being accurate, but they're the only ones being honest.
Yeah. Right. So moving on, because I could talk about this all night long, but moving on, I wanted to talk briefly about YouTube and the YouTube culture, and something that as a YouTube content creator, I almost feel obligated to talk about. So recently, I don't know if you've followed the news, but recently, most of YouTube's major advertisers have pulled out of advertising on YouTube. And I bring up YouTube because as a phenomenon, YouTube has become somewhat of an obsession for both the content creators and for the viewers. There are people, and I see my kids, they get sucked into this YouTube environment where they are literally watching video after video after video after video, because YouTube does a really great job at recommending things to you that you might be interested in based on something that you searched for and or watched. When I look at my YouTube feed, it is amazing how many things YouTube can show me that I am absolutely interested in watching. And I have
when
to
you go on Google a second later, suddenly all that, there's random stuff that just shows up in the sidebar that's like, I just looked at something having to do with that. How'd that
yeah,
get
you
there?
see ads. I was looking at those little ball bearing fidget spinners. It's basically a piece of metal with a ball bearing in the middle, and it's evenly weighted so you can just spin it, and it spins really, 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 really fast. They're awesome. And I was looking them up, and Jackson and I were looking at videos of people doing tricks with them and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm searching for something totally unrelated on the Google, and the ads that I'm seeing are for these really awesome and really great deals on fidget spinners. Imagine that.
Yep,
Anyway,
just a coincidence, total coincidence.
Thankfully, I subscribe to YouTube Red, so I don't get any ads.
Yep.
So I don't know if the ads, the video ads, are even being targeted at me, because I thankfully don't have to look at them. But here's the deal with YouTube, and this is what I wanted to talk about to kind of end the show tonight, because it is relevant, it is current, and it does impact this channel. YouTube and most of their advertisers recently, in the last week or two, all the big ones pulled out and stopped advertising on YouTube. And the reason that they did it was that YouTube uses an algorithm and computer AI to figure out what videos have content that's considered advertiser friendly. So if you are an ISIS fighter trying to post propaganda videos to get people to join ISIS, that's probably not advertiser friendly. So the robots that watch the millions of hours of YouTube video that's posted every day tries to sift through all this shit and not allow ads to be on videos that the advertisers wouldn't appreciate being on. And the one that really kind of kicked off all this drama was there was a British guy who has a fairly popular YouTube channel who posted a video of himself basically doing a product review of these new armored vests that the police in the UK are going to get from the government. And they are supposed to be, they're being marketed as blade proof, knife proof, stab proof vests. So this guy, he believed that this was dishonest or disingenuous at best, that calling these stab proof was like calling, you know, I don't know, I can't even think, like calling something waterproof that's really water resistant, right? And companies,
stainless steel,
right? But companies don't really do that, right? Like for example, the Apple Watch, it's marketed as water resistant, even though it is rated with a rating that allows it to go 50 meters underwater. That's pretty fucking waterproof, but they still don't call it waterproof because that's not true. So these vests are being marketed to police and to the public as stab proof. So this guy said, bullshit, I'm going to prove it. And he puts this vest on YouTube showing that it is very easy to stab through this vest. AT&T saw one of their ads, or the Wall Street Journal saw one of AT&T's ads on this video and called it terrorist propaganda. That this guy was teaching the bad guys how they could stab and kill British cops. And so AT&T, of course, flipped the fuck out, said that YouTube had betrayed them and pulled all their advertising from YouTube. And then more people jumped on and more companies jumped on and more companies jumped on until all their big advertisers went away. So in response, YouTube decided, we're going to tighten this shit up real tight, and we're going to start really cracking down on videos that are not advertiser friendly. Philip DeFranco. Robinson, you know Philip DeFranco. Chaz, I don't know if you're a viewer. I love Philly D.
Like is that the CEO? That one, like he does sketches and shit.
No, Philip DeFranco is a
10-minute news report on whatever he thinks is interesting in the news.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's very cleverly edited. He edits out all the silences, so it sounds like he talks a million miles an hour. Mm-hmm. Really smart dude, really great channel, really good content. And the best part about it is it's apolitical. He doesn't lean left, he doesn't lean right, and he always wants to know from his viewers, what do you think about this? Mm-hmm. So Philip DeFranco had a couple of videos that got their advertising pulled off of them with no notice, no letter, no explanation, except that they were called advertiser unfriendly. And so Philip DeFranco has millions of views every day, and he is a full-time YouTuber. He makes his living off of YouTube. So if a dozen of his videos get demonetized, he is losing money without even realizing it until YouTube cuts him a check in a month, and that check is 90% less than what he was expecting. And this is happening. Go ahead.
So they took the video down?
No, they took the ads off the videos without telling anyone. Okay,
all right. So I'm just getting it how it works in my mind. So if the ads are on your videos, you're getting paid.
You get correct.
If the video is not ad friendly, they take the ad off. Okay, so I was thinking they took the video down. I'm like, well, wait, that's not.
They did do a little bit of that too, where they basically started to lean on their restricted content filter, where they were filtering content for LGBT community channels, sex type related channels that talk about the things that are related to sex, but they're not overtly sexual.
Like gender. I forget who it was.
Fetish stuff.
Maybe.
No. Somebody who like went through. They made a complete gender transformation show.
Gender reassignment.
Gender reassignment over the course of several years. He started the show with a guy, just a gay boy. Now it's a full-fledged woman, and it's like you can see his entire, not sexual related, but not sexual.
Right.
Yeah.
So also videos that post about true crime, like murder and kidnapping, which I subscribe to a couple of channels that discuss true crime. I find them very interesting. Also, videos about the paranormal and aliens and all that kind of shit. They're getting ads pulled off of them as being not friendly to advertisers. And there are some people in certain communities on YouTube, especially like the fringe communities, the UFO, the paranormal, the true crime, that have seen a 90% decrease in the money that they're making off of their videos. And a lot of these people, if you have more than 500,000 subscribers, you probably make enough money off of YouTube that you can do it full time and pay your mortgage and take care of your family. And somebody like a Philip DeFranco, who has millions of subscribers, or somebody like PewDiePie, for example, who made a couple of off-colored, the dude's from like, you know, Norway or some shit like that. And he made some off-colored jokes about Hitler. And they were jokes. Don't get me wrong. They were jokes. But because he's not considered a comedy channel, his videos were put into the restricted category. And advertisers pulled out and didn't want their ads on his show anymore. This dude sits in front of a computer and plays video games. That is his whole channel. He is the most popular content creator on YouTube. He sits in front of a computer and plays video games. PewDiePie.
Yeah.
This goofy little blonde guy playing video games while he's got his little head in the corner.
Yeah.
And he's playing video games with the screen. The rest of the screen is the game. And he's just chatting about what he's doing.
But Philly D has other things going on that bring him income besides just the advertising.
He does. He sells merchandise.
Yeah. And I think he has investors as well.
Well, he does. He's got a whole company now. Yeah. So he was not as deeply impacted as, say, one of my favorite channels, which is called SecureTeam. SecureTeam is a more or less a science and kind of alien discovery channel where they post UFO sightings and they talk about them and photos of weird shit on Mars with the Mars rovers and just cool sort of out there stuff. This guy, about a year ago, quit his job and started doing this full time. He's got about 1 million subscribers. His name is Tyler. He's a young dude, and he saw a revenue drop of over 90% because of this advertiser boycott. And yes, YouTube has a way for you to appeal if you think that your video was demonetized inappropriately, incorrectly, but that appeal process is also automated. So you appeal, and then the automated system decides whether you win or you lose the appeal. But the bigger problem is this. It's not even so much that a lot of these videos are being demonetized. The bigger problem is that because so many of their main advertisers pulled out, where you used to see ads at the beginning of almost every popular video that you would see on YouTube, and then maybe if it was a long format video, like more than 15 minutes, you'd see an ad in the middle, and then an ad at the end, and then some ad banners at the bottom. The problem is there's not enough ads to go around. So you might be watching YouTube for a couple of hours, and instead of seeing, 50 ads, you, the viewer, might only have seen 10 ads. So even though you didn't get demonetized, you have in fact been demonetized because there's just not enough monetization to go around.
Well, this is just like one. I mean, this actually is a bright and shining example of exactly how not free our press is, or at
Or
least
the
not
internet
free.
anymore, for that
Well,
example.
Well,
exactly. You know, the press or the media, internet, etc. It's all based on advertisement. It's all based on sponsorship. Whereas in other countries, like that are where the media and the press are really controlled so strictly by the state, it's the same idea. You say something they don't like, they pull it.
Yep.
But it's just private companies doing it.
Well, and this ties in with some of the political conversation that we've been having, because I did not know this, but there are approximately 76,000 images, internet memes that are outlawed, illegal in the country that is known as Russia. They are unflattering photos and memes of Vladimir Putin. And if you are a Russian citizen and you are found to have posted one of these images, you can go to jail. So, best thing ever, Philip DeFranco just did an episode a day or two ago where he posted this meme of Putin dressed up in makeup, kind of looking like what Putin considers to be a gay lady man. And they just banned that image. That was like one of the most recently banned images of Putin. So Philip DeFranco posted the image all over the video and a link to the image, begging people, please don't share this on Twitter. Don't share this on Instagram. Don't share this on YouTube, because it's against the law in Russia and it hurts Putin's feelings. And
the Streisand effect.
Well, and what we are dealing with right now in terms of internet privacy is a law that was just passed a couple of days ago, allowing my internet service provider and yours to sell my browser history, all of the details related to my browsing choices with anyone, everyone that they see fit. I no longer control my own private internet usage. And the scary thing is something that I heard today, that is, let's say I am a private investigator and I am working for, how about a husband who is going through a nasty divorce with my wife, and I want custody of my children. I happen to know that my wife has a little bit of an internet porn fetish. Well, I could ask my private investigator to pay my ISP or her ISP, or for the time that we lived together in the same house, our ISP, to provide a list of the internet browsing history from her computer, and then show a judge proof that she is an unfit mother, because look at what she does on the internet while the kids are sleeping upstairs. She's looking at goat porn. She listens to the sober happy hour. She must be a drug addict.
Could they just buy it?
Yep. If the ISPs wanted to sell it, sure. So,
damn. And so why weren't people screaming at their senators and legislators about this? I mean, I can't imagine, like, the hicks out there who are just promoting and whatnot and propping up their favorite neocons and their favorite, completely alt-right folks, realizing this.
Because it was sold as something totally different. It was sold by the people that were selling it as the way that our current system works, and the lack of control that the ISPs have over my content and what I do is stifling innovation.
Oh, fuck that shit, dude.
And they would give examples of how it could stifle the movement forward of internet technology, and even more so for some of those neocons, the people that you're talking about, how this not having this information could make us less safe on the internet. So past probably in the middle of the night, probably with nobody watching, nobody listening, because we have a majority in the House, we have the majority in the Senate, and we have that same majority in the White House. And so we lose some privacy for the sake of security.
Nah, dude, that's for the sake of fucking profit, yo. And
of course,
no one. I mean, to me, it's just like so freaking obvious. But maybe I'm just like so jaded and everything, used to this type of shit. I don't know, but I honestly, when I heard the news of that shit, it was just like, what the actual fuck?
I will tell you.
I mean,
I'll tell you who it's good for. Aside from the ISPs making billions off of my private information, it's going to be really good. And maybe I'll even buy some stock in the best publicly traded VPN company that I can find, because I've never been all that worried, interested, never really given half a shit about getting behind a VPN. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll spend the $100 a year to get behind a virtual private network so that all of my traffic is encrypted and bounced all over the world before it goes anywhere and comes back to me. Because a VPN would protect you. A Tor browser would protect you. And maybe I'm willing to give up a little bit of speed to my connection for privacy. Maybe. But I'm almost ready to pull the trigger to put every episode of this show on Google Drive. So maybe I don't care that much about my privacy. Google's motto,
YouTube, right?
Hmm?
Google owns YouTube.
Well, technically Alphabet owns YouTube. Google, so
Google created Alphabet as an
correct, as an umbrella company, and so Alphabet owns Google and YouTube and all of the other entities that make up what used to be Google, the umbrella. So yes, for all intents and purposes, yes, Google owns YouTube, but YouTube is technically its own company now, under the umbrella of Alphabet. So we just got a crazy amount of buzzing going on all of a sudden.
No, I just opened another page to look up Alphabet.
You got really loud all of a sudden.
Is it gone?
No. So, but I don't know that it matters too much, because I think we're going to leave it here.
Okay.
I want everybody to be aware that right now we are, and I'm usually not this dramatic, but right now a lot of what we love is under attack almost. We are seeing things go away, things that we love, like YouTube, like our own privacy, like our ability to make decisions about our own health care get taken away from us. Our ability to, we know full well, there is scientific research that says low birth weight, birth defects, and infant mortality are directly related to the proximity that a pregnant mother lives from a coal-burning power plant. And yet right now, we're in the process of trying to increase our coal output for the first time in decades, because some fucking orangutan decided we need to bring the coal jobs back to America, even though the people that know about money and business have said very bluntly that there is 100 times more money and jobs to be had in renewable energy, green energy, than there ever will be in coal. Right now, the theme park companies, Disneyland, Magic Mountain, Six Flags, Knott's Berry Farm, the theme park companies, they literally employ far more people than the entire coal industry in this country.
Really?
No. Yes.
Wow.
So it's like if all the theme park companies decided to come together and lobby Congress, could they get whatever the fuck they want? Hey, no more regulations on roller coasters. We don't care if the trains fall off the track and people die. We're losing money over here. That would never happen in a zillion years because big energy owns everything.
I mean, I'm just really going to have to control myself, I guess, when it just all comes out just how bad these years will be. These years are and are going to be, and the damage that's going to be done and caused. And just like, you know, when I'm on the right side of history, I guess, I'm just really going to have to stop myself from laughing in the faces of, you know,
and gloating.
People in my family and gloating.
Yeah, people in my family.
I mean, I hate saying things like "I told you so," but it's like it's almost gonna be like, dude, I don't know.
I fucking told you so.
With yourself. Yeah, it's like I'm glad I'm not you because I don't have to answer to myself.
But they never will come to terms. They never will accept responsibility. They never will say I'm sorry. They never will say you were right. Ever. That will never happen. And so somebody has to be the adult in the room. And unfortunately, it will end up being my children who have to be the adult in the room once all these motherfuckers start dying of old age. And that's the best we could hope for. So we took some time off. We came back. We kicked you in the nuts with some knowledge. And we hope that you will join us again. Let's say 2 weeks. Can we do 2 weeks?
Yes. And are we going to continue the razor boycott?
The razor boycott?
I noticed that.
None of us are saved.
I'm all about it.
I was going to.
I will continue the haircut boycott. It was funny. I was looking through our YouTube channel to see how many of our videos were demonetized. Oh, they also raised the bar. So you can no longer monetize ads on your channel until you have 10,000 views.
Oh.
We are nowhere near that. So the couple pennies that YouTube owes me, they don't owe it to me anymore. So 10,000 views. And I think that might have been one of the smartest decisions that they've made in a long time to try and prevent some of these awful, horrible, you know, terrorist propaganda videos from ending up with ads on them, because most of those channels pop up overnight. They post some shit. They get very few views, but this way they won't be able to get ads put on them. You also have to now apply to be part of the YouTube partner channel or whatever, so that you can monetize. Whereas before, all you had to do was submit. Right. And now it's going to go through an approval process. So I think that'll help. So again, I am an eternal optimist, full of hope, full of love, except not really towards the people in our government right now. Not a lot of love there, but still a lot of hope and still a lot of optimism. And that's going to do it for tonight. This is the Sober Happy Hour radio broadcast. Shoot us an email, soberhappyhour@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @soberhappyhour, facebook.com/soberhappyhour. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. Catch us here, and hopefully by then we'll figure out how the fuck to get the podcast back up and running, because I tell you, this is awful. And fuck you, Dropbox. Thank you very much. And if you or yours is considering getting sober, I highly recommend it. Good night.
Good night.